Good afternoon, everybody. I'll be taking on your current affairs class from here on, and we'll be making sure that in the most possible cases, we'll try to connect it. See, the idea of current affairs is not to just recite or remember and mug up today's news. There'll be a number of news. If you will read, let's say, two newspapers or even a one newspaper for the matter of case, uh, you will have in a day like 7 to 8 important of the articles. Now, over the phase of that 1.5 year of stretch, you will be entertaining almost 500, 700 articles, more than that, in thousands even. Is that the good strategy to deal with that particular thing? In my particular way, if I have to guide you in that aspect, I think the greatest idea in terms of current affairs is the idea of interportability. That one particular topic or an article which you can see, which you are reading, how are you able to connect it with the different dots, with the different parts of the keywords of your syllabus, not just related. For example, we'll discuss this about, we'll show this in this particular class only. But for example, when you see the news in the background, which is in the today's front page of the Hindu, and I think it's been in the news from last 1 week or so. हम ऑलरेडी इन सारी चीज़ों को वेरियस प्लेसेस पे कवर करते आए हैं, either memes or internet or newspaper, that we found out that in the house, in the storeroom of one of the judges, there was a potentially very high amount of cash was discovered and it was burnt. Okay. Now, the question what I want to raise is, जब आप हाई कोर्ट के बारे में सुनते हैं या जजेस के बारे में सुनते हैं, what is the first thing, which is the subject which is reflected in your mind? Polity, right? So we quickly jump onto the aspect of GS2, that this particular thing ये तो हमें GS2 में cover करनी है, right? So far so good, that is almost right also. देखा जाए तो it's the most important aspect, right? But what I want to tell you is that the idea of interoperability is that when you see something, in fact this news highlights corruption. And can you actually imagine the amount of places you can use this particular idea itself? Think about it. अगर आप सोचेंगे, you will find out that the idea of corruption is not just limited to polity. It can be transferred to governance aspect. It can be studied in terms of your ethics, right? In fact, in this class only, in detail, we won't just limit this particular discussion to the corruption aspect. We will take it further to ethics in the judicial aspect. Okay. And even then, it's not the end case. Even then, you can take it a step forward. You can take this particular news, this particular article, as a prominent example, if required, in your essays, right? Yes or no? So if you are getting the idea that now, while I'm reading this particular news, I'm opening all the dimension whatsoever I can. I don't have to contain or limit myself only to a very narrow aspect of the keyword which is it is oriented to, a very narrow aspect of those GS keywords. We have to stretch our domain. We have to stretch. We have to make sure that this particular news. See, for example, if you're reading now, you have, let's say, covered this particular news. Now, tomorrow, if you'll be covering up ethics, right? That should not be the case that आपको ethics के लिए अलग से कुछ example use करने पड़े. नहीं. Save your revision time. Save your research time. Getting it? So this will be the aspect. Apart from that, I'll try to inculcate if any relevant prelims question has been asked in the past. Along with that, I will think about the different kind of mains question which can be formed from this particular topics. And if required, if you are willing forward for it, we'll try to this answer. We will give you that particular amount of time to answer these questions or in the class only, so that side by side you will be preparing and you will be practicing your mains answers also. Okay, so without further ado, let's begin. So this is the news which you might be seeing today in the Monday newspaper about the justice on whose house there was a huge stockpile of cash which was discovered, right? And now there are a number of repercussions will be going around this. Getting it? So of course, there's nothing prima facie. It's very much evident that this much amount of money is not salary earned, right? This much amount of money is not coming from the right ways around. Of course, why will be burning it then, right? So the side of corruption and other side of the failure of judiciary is something to look forward to. But let's start from the basic. Basic in terms of what? Basic in terms of how. Are you aware of the fact that how judges are appointed? Both the Supreme Court and the High Court? Yes or no? If no, if you are not aware about it, this is something which you should revise right now. See, it can be the fact that you are not studying polity right now. But just reading this particular news and letting it slip through is not the way. Is not the right way of capturing current affairs. The right way is that how many times this news is coming, you should revise the important aspects. Now, what are the important keywords if you can think of? If we talk about the prelims information, I think you should be very much aware about the appointment system, the appointment procedure of the High Court or the Supreme Court judges. When you will look into it, you will get to know about the collegium system. Okay. Then further, when we are talking about the appointment, the next thing should be awareness about the removal procedure also. Getting it? So these are the most important of the aspects in terms of prelims information. When you are entertaining this news, you should make sure that this is what you can capture from this particular news while you are going through it. So let's see the appointment process of the Supreme Court or High Court judges. Now, if you have never heard of the collegium system, look into it. What is a collegium, by the way? Those who know? Right. Okay. So collegium is a institution which has no origin in the constitution. It is a group which decides, which finalizes the name of the people which is going to be submitted to the law ministry, the central law ministry, which are going to be further submitting it to the President of India for the appointments. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go into the details, but let me tell you the collegium system has evolved from in the past, and there are multiple Supreme Court judgments and cases which you need to look into regarding the collegium system, because at the beginning they were like two of the judges which were required, and their recommendation was not mandatory. The numbers increased to 4 to make sure the accountability should be better. Then more additions were there. So I want you to look into the collegium system, and if you find any kind of doubts, so this is a kind of things which the offshoots which you should keep on looking on to. Okay, so When you talk about the appointment system, when it comes to a high court judges, okay, apart from chief justice of that high court, we talk about the chief justice of high court, what will happen? There will be a collegium system of the chief justice of India and two more senior judges. The most two senior judges, they will form a three-member collegium body. Okay, they will finalize the name. They will recommend the names if in case of chief justice of India, oh sorry, chief justice of high court, they will recommend the name and they will consult the governor of that particular state. Okay, they will consider the chief minister also. They will take their recommendations, their advices, and finalizing the name, they will send it to the Union Law Ministry. The Union Law Ministry, which will send this proposal if they have finalized it to the President of India. If in case, what will happen in the case when the Union Law Ministry is not concurring from the idea which are the recommendations which are sent to the ministry? What will happen in that case? In that case, please understand very clearly, only once the Union Law Ministry can send the recommendations back. But even if the same names are sent back, it is required that the Union Law Ministry should propose the names to the President of the India and get those people appointed in that designation post. Getting it? When there is an appointment apart from the Chief Justice of a High Court, in that case, the collegium system, the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court Chief Justice of India and the other two senior judges which are making the collegium system will also take, apart from Chief Minister and Governor, will also take the recommendation of the Chief Justice of that particular High Court. Getting it? So this is how the appointments happen in the High Court. When we talk about the removal process is similar both for the High Court or the Supreme Court judges. Okay, and one should know that there is no Supreme Court judges who has been impeached so far in the history ever. There are a couple of judges against whom the recommendation of impeachment was brought into the parliament, but they were not impeached for one reason or the another. Okay, when we talk about the impeachment or the removal process, if you can see, it requires a motion, and that motion should be supported by 100 members if it's the case of Lok Sabha. While since the Rajya Sabha has lesser members, the same proposal, if originated in Rajya Sabha, need to be signed by 50 members. Okay, if the numbers are lesser, that proposal cannot be signed. Now, whatsoever house has proposed to impeach the judge, they need to make an investigation committee. Okay, there will be a 3-member judicial investigation committee who will look into the charges which has been mentioned in the proposal in the house, and they will see that if the charges are legitimate. See, this is a condition. It's not the case that if the proposal has been brought in the house and the house has a majority of one or the other party, they can easily pass through it. It is about the credibility of the supreme judicial institutions. So the procedure has been meant very rigid, very stringent one. You cannot tarnish the image of the judicial houses. So the committee will make sure that whatever the charges are levied, are they right or they wrong? In case they are wrong, the proposal will be done and dusted. Only if the committee finds out that the proposal has some actual grounds, some actual potential, then it will be sent to the house to discuss. Then only it will be sent for voting in the house. Getting it? And when we talk about voting in the house, When we talk about the voting in the House, it requires a two-third majority of the House for the removal. Make sure you understand there are different kind of majorities for different kind of procedures. Some will be simple majority, some will be special majority. Okay, so make sure this part of where we are discussing about the majority, what kind of majority is required, you are very much clear. Okay, now moving forward from the prelims detail. In fact, there's a particular question which was relevant to the appointment and removal process. Take some 45 seconds and try to attempt this question. Are you done? Okay. So let's see. Let's find out the answer. What is the first statement saying? The first statement implies the question is we have to find out the correct statements. So the first statement is saying the motion which has been brought in the House to impeach, to remove a judge of the Supreme Court of India cannot be rejected by the Speaker of Lok Sabha. What it is saying? In other words, it's saying that it is mandatory for the Speaker to accept that particular proposal. Now, understand this thing. It is not. If the Speaker finds out that whatever charges are levied or proposed by the House have no grounds, it is just to tarnish the image of the judge of the court, he can then and there not accept the proposal. Getting it? So the idea of mandatory proposal is false. Okay? So the statement is gone. If that statement is gone, these two options are gone. Now we need to find out if our second statement is wrong, the answer will be C. And if our second statement is correct, then we might not look into the other options. But let's go forward. The idea is the Constitution of India defines. Now understand this one thing now, today. In polity, these words, when it says that the Constitution of India has defined, it's very dangerous. Yes, indeed it is. Now what happens? There are n number of things which you will read in the course of time, which the statements must be true. But what will happen? They will add this phrase in front of it. And understand this thing. There are n number of things which are not constitutionally defined. Sometimes there are some kind of rules which have been defined. Okay. Sometimes it's some kind of long-term obligations, long-term, practices which are, conventions which are followed. For example, there is a convention that the deputy speaker of the Lok Sabha will be from the opposition. Now understand, it's a convention, it's a practice which has been followed. So to make sure that the House is fairly and justly represented, that their opposition party also have the constitutionally posts. But has the Constitution mandated it? No. Getting it? So, which make sure the Constitution of India gives detail of what constitutes incapacity and proved misbehavior. The Constitution has not defined it. Getting it? So, first and second statement are incorrect. Answer is third and fourth. Okay? Okay. Going forward. Now, let's talk into something more serious, something more theoretical. Now, we understand this one thing that a huge amount of cash was discovered, right? Which of course points out to unfairly conduct by the justice in whose house we found out that cash. Now, what is the bigger problem which it is highlighting? The bigger problem, if you will understand, is the degrading judicial ethics. Getting it? See, judiciary has a very important role in the political system, in the constitutional setup of the country. It is that pillar who's going to make sure that the things are fair, that they are keeping a check on the boundaries, on the legitimate procedures of those people who are elected into the house, the legislature, the executive. We have to make sure that there is someone to keep them in check. But often, what is happening is that those people who were meant to keep the others in check, they themselves have no boundaries of their own. Getting it? Maybe the concept of, you might have heard about the idea of judicial activism. Often, the judiciary is stretching their legs into the legislative sphere also. Getting it? Sometimes in the executive sphere also. Yes or no? They have, over the past, have made n number of laws, which is not their job. Getting it? Now, those people, basically, they are the protectors. They are the watchdogs. And now, if those who are going to be safeguarding our rights, if those people who are supposed to be there to protect you are the ones who are doing that kind of, losing that kind of ethics in their functioning. Getting it? And now, it is not the only case of corruption. See, when we will read ethics, you will understand. Losing ethics is not limited to just corruption. It has multiple spheres, okay? The amount, the areas where if you are doing something which is more opaque in functioning, which is behind the curtains, it is unethical. If there's something is not transparent, it is unethical, right? So, the things what I'm talking about is the recruitment process itself. When we talk about the collegium system, I told you in this class only that when a union law ministry rejects the proposal and the collegium sends it back, the union law ministry has nothing to do. They can't do anything much. They will have to accept it, right? Do you really think it's fair? Is it fair? Is it sound? I don't think so. Getting it? So, the collegium system itself, when a couple of judges will be deciding that who are going to be ruling, there are cases of nepotism. Okay? There are very unjustful cases. If you'll have read about something about collegium, you must understand there was some NJAC Act, which was, National Judicial Appointments Commission, which the Supreme Court found that it's non-constitutional. Now, basically, if those people are going to be running the show all by themselves, it is unethical in nature. Getting it? So, if you'll understand judicial ethics, it is we talk about judicial ethics, it is the principles, it's the practices followed, it's the standards that govern the way of working, the behavior, the decision making of the judges and the courts. Getting it? Judicial ethics refers to the commitment the judges have for the protection of the individual rights. The commitment they have to make sure that the judgments are fair. सबके लिए एक समान है, सबके लिए बराबर हैं. Now this is judicial ethics. Getting it? And what all encompass judicial ethics? Independence. By independence mean that a judge, there should not be any kind of pressure on them. And that's why after their appointment, their service condition cannot be changed. Getting it? The service conditions in which they have to be appointed should not be changed by the political leaders. Their transfers their appointment, their removal. The removal is that stringent. Imagine if the removal process was not that difficult, not that rigid. Anyone will come and pressurize the judge that if you do not act in this particular way, you might be possibly transferred tomorrow, right? So the independence of the house is very much required for their free and fair functioning, right? Apart from that, impartiality. Whatever judgment they are delivering, it should be free from any kind of bias. It should be free from any kind of stereotype, some prejudice. In fact, in this particular manner, there was a case tha kuch time pehle, in which the Madras High Court judge, he was seeing this, he had to give a judgment on a case which was related to LGBTQ community. Now, see, in all by fair means, he could have delivered the judgment. He was a very senior judge. But what he thought was right and fair was that he took some time off from that case, okay, and attended some kind of seminars, read more about the community, and got to understand more about them. Because he himself said that I won't be able to deliver a fair judgment till the time I do not understand more about the community, because I might be having some prejudicial views. Getting it? So your judgment cannot be based on some kind of preset, preformed mindset. Okay? Integrity. We have to make sure that they are righteous. Their conduct is righteous, both in their professional and personal life. Because if a judge is seen non-integral in their personal life, that image is tarnished, right? Their competence is often judged. It's questioned. Getting it? Yes or no? So, I hope you understand the idea of judicial ethics. Now, let's talk about the challenges to judicial ethics. Think about it. Take 30 seconds and think about what are the challenges in this particular time we are thinking about judicial ethics. Just think about the challenges which the judges must be facing, the courts are facing, everything. Okay? Good. So, as you said, that the first challenge is the huge amount of pending cases. Almost 4 crore cases are pending in the different hierarchy of the courts in India, be it the district courts, high courts, or the Supreme Courts. Getting it? Now, it's often said that justice delayed is justice denied. अगर justice time पे नहीं मिल रहा है तो actually injustice हो रहा है. Yes or no? We have seen in the movies, बहुत सारी movies, pictures, ऐसे articles हमने पढ़े हैं जहां पे कोई मर गया फिर उसका judgment आया है. Getting it? 15 साल 20 साल बाद. तो वो तो सही तरीका नहीं है जजमेंट देने का. वो पर्टिकुलर इंसान तो आपसे जस्टिस की उम्मीद करते करते मर गया. यस और नो? सो दैट इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट चैलेंजेस. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, हमने कोलेजियम की बात समझी, हमने ट्रांसपेरेंसी का इशू समझा, दैट देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ ओपेसिटी इन द अपॉइंटमेंट्स, राइट? सो वो एक इशू है. देन द लेटेस्ट न्यूज विच वी सॉ, ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ मनी. व्हाट इट हाइलाइट्स? क्या बताता है? करप्शन. Yes or no? So, judicial corruption is another issue, right? Then, favoritism. Often, someone is appointed in the high courts, have some kind of relatives. Sorry, in any kind of courts, maybe in the district courts also, there is often that there is a relatives or some kind of close association are there in the senior courts. So there is what we call nepotism or bhai bhatijawad, right? So that is a challenge. Another challenge is the amount of representation of women. Yes or no? There's a huge amount of unequal representation. If you will see, there are very handful of the people, handful of the women who have been there in the Supreme Courts so far, and this whole of this ages. After 75 years of independence, we don't have a single woman Chief Justice of India. Getting it? A country where the 50% of people, 50% of the cases might be somewhere associated with women, they are not being represented well. Getting it? And there are a number of issues. This is just a brief, surfacial idea. When you look into it, there are a number of challenges you will find out in the judicial ethics. Getting it? Try to find out a couple of them more by yourself. Now, we have understood the issue, we have understood the challenge. Now, let's find out the solutions. When we talk about solutions, what are the solutions? See, don't try to run into and try to think something out of the box. अगर आपको प्रॉब्लम पता है तो उन्हीं को एड्रेस करो और सॉल्यूशन ढूंढो. गेटिंग इट? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर हमने बात करी कि वुमेन रिप्रेजेंटेशन कम है जुडिशरी में, तो देयर कैन बी सम काइंड ऑफ रिजर्वेशन, राइट? हम कुछ पर्टिकुलर पोस्ट अलोकेट कर सकते हैं विच आर मस्ट फॉर वुमेन जजेस. यस और नो? गेटिंग इट? अगर हमने ओपेसिटी की बात करी, there is a huge amount of opacity, in that particular case, what we can do? In that particular case, we can think of a transparent appointment process. We can think of something in the line of NJAC, National Judicial Appointment Commission. We can think of it. We can make sure that agar aaj se 10 saal pehle there were some issues out of it, we can sort these issues out. Getting it? We can think of an independent body who will make sure, who will be looking, who will be oversighting, who will be entertaining any kind of complaints of maybe corruption, of unfair conduct against the judges. Getting in? We can think of a code of conduct which is must to be followed by the judges, so that they not only deliver fair justice, they also should be appearing to deliver fair justice. Getting it? I hope that's clear. Now understand this thing. Try to write some kind of means answer from it, okay? And try to inculcate diversified points, okay? If you cannot find out any question, we in fact, if you want to write, let me give you a question, okay? Write it down. The question is, the efficiency of collegium system, write it down. The efficiency of the collegium system has been challenged time to time in terms of its independence, has been challenged time to time in terms of its independence and transparency of judicial appointments. Full stop. Critically examine. Try to write in 150 words, and if you want, you can bring it up to me, for your review. Okay. Try to include multiple points. What are the challenges? What are the solutions we are looking forward for? Okay. Okay. Moving forward to our next article, which is the Sagarmala 2.0. Okay. As you can understand, 2.0 means there must be some kind of, previously Sagarmala has been launched only. It's a newer version. Okay. The plans have been changed. The goals must be trimmed with, right? Which addition hua hai, funds allocation and all that. So, if you look into Sagarmala, what's the word that particularly highlight? Sagar means oceans and Mala means string. Okay. So we are making sure that our coastal area, we have good infrastructural string connectivity. Developing those ports and all that will provide that kind of Sagarmala. Yes or no? Getting it? So, if you look into the prelims nuances of this particular news, It's that the fourth, the apex body of this Sagarmala, the National Sagarmala Apex Committee, have revised the program, and they are looking forward for it. They are looking for the discussions that what are the further upgrade institutions we need to do in order to meet the particular goals, in order to meet the maritime India vision 2030. Okay, or making India amongst the top 5 blue economy by 2047. Getting it? So, if you understand, Sagarmala 2.0 is the upgraded version of the Sagarmala initiative, which was launched way back in 2015. Getting it? Now, 40,000 crores have been allocated as a new budget. Okay. Now, let's look into the prelims information. Launched in 2015, as I said, comes under the Ministry of Ports and Shipping. Yes or no? Now, these ministries become an important points. Often questions can be asked and can be confused. So, always make sure that the ministry we are very much aware of. Okay. Now, the idea of Sagarmala is, now this is more much or less important. How much amount of budgetary allocation is happening is something which is not too much credible importance. But of course, we should know the amount of idea. See, 40,000 crore has been allocated for it. Now, if tomorrow, if they stay, they will never confuse you with 45,000, 42,000 crore. They will only confuse you with something like, gigantic allocation like 4 lakh crore and all that. So you have to you have to have a generalistic idea. When you have this allocation of schemes and all that, you should look into the idea that is this amount of money is fairly could be possibly allocated or not. Getting it? Okay. Now, moving forward, what's the idea of Sagarmala initiative? The objective of Sagarmala is first improving the infrastructure of our ports. Getting it? Now, maritime connectivity is very much required in order to help, in order to aid our rising exponential economic dreams, right? In order to make us the third largest economy. Yes or no? And for now, if you will understand why Sagarmala is of vital importance for our country, because so far our ports are very much underutilized, and in fact they have very less potential to serve what is actually required. For fact, if you understand the turnaround time क्या होता है? शिप के अराइवल से लेके शिप के डिपार्चर में कितना टाइम लगा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर एक शिप कंटेनर्स भर के लाया है एक पोर्ट पे, तो उसको कंटेनर्स अनलोड करने होंगे, रिफ्यूल करना होगा, सर्विसिंग करनी होगी एंड वापस डिपार्चर होगा, राइट? ये जो टर्न अराउंड टाइम है ऑन एन एवरेज इन इंडिया इज 62 hours. Getting it? So it's taking almost 3 days for a ship to come and go back, and which is of more than twice when we compare it to the most developed of the countries. Getting it? Now, अगर हमें ये चीजें, हमें टर्न अराउंड टाइम को कम करना है, what will require? We require the ports modernization. Getting it? We need to build that kind of infrastructure. Now, think about it. जब हम ports में, जब हम ये infrastructure की बात करते हैं ports के, तो don't limit yourself to just ports. Now think of different dimension. अगर हम ports में infrastructure बढ़ाते हैं, if we are aiding, we are increasing the modernization of the Indian ports, what all benefits which we will be gaining out of it? Think of it. Good. First, it will increase the connectivity. Getting it? It will enhance the connectivity, because ports are not going to be just used for transportation only. It can also be used for public transport, right? So it will enhance that connectivity. It will help the growth of coastal communities. It will provide them jobs. Yes or no? Those people who are living in the nearby areas, they will get that kind of opportunities. Apart from that, it will increase the commercial exchange between the countries. Directly linked to what? Directly linked to economic development of the country. Yes or no? Also, it will decrease the logistics cost in our country. Getting it? So the productivity will increase. एक शिप अगर 62 आवर्स में जा रहा है और अगर सम टाइम हम उसे 30 आवर्स में ला देते हैं, so the productivity will increase, the economic capacity will increase, right? Apart from that, it will also be better in terms of environment. अगर एक शिप को बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम लग रहा है, आ रहा है, there are n number of things. Port often, you know, जब ships आते हैं, they need that kind of services. They have traveled a long way mile, and often the ships are losing oil, there are oil spillage and all that. So we need that kind of modernized ports. So make sure that they are dealing with the environmental challenge also. Getting it? Now, if we are dealing with that particular thing, what we will require? हमें प्रॉब्लम समझ में आ गई, हमें इश्यूज समझ में आ गए, राइट? ऐसा करने से क्या होगा? हमारे पास देयर विल बी मोर फॉरेन इन्वेस्टमेंट, राइट? We will be helping to achieve our dreams of becoming the leaders of the blue economy. Getting it? So there are more number of advantages. If you will think in terms of your internal security perspective, if you will connect this thing, so you will get that port development is also vital importance for the national security purposes. Yes or no? Right? So these are n number of things, but what we will require for that? Now, this is your homework. Okay, you will tell me what are the things which will be required in terms for port development. Okay. Okay. Moving forward. Now, exercise Sea Dragon. Okay. And if you will see over the past, in fact, last year in prelims, the security and the defense aspect was very much the hot topic. There were almost 3 questions coming from these kind of exercises. Okay. So let's look into the details. Now, this is what? This is an anti-submarine warfare exercise. Okay. It has a very particular agenda to deal. It's a multinational. It's a many of the countries participated to increase the maritime securities, to enhance the naval cooperation amongst the different countries, right? Currently, the host nation was the United States of America, okay, conducted in the Air Force Base of Guam in the Pacific Ocean, okay. If you will see over the period of 1 year, you will have to remember something like 20 to 25 of these exercises. Amongst the major countries, for example, USA, France, UK, Japan. Try to remember both, or in fact, all the 3, the Air Force exercises, the military exercises, and the Navy exercises. Apart from that, try to make sure that the closest, countries of ours, be it Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Nepal, okay, if and whatever the exercises are we doing with these countries, that should also be of vital importance, because the exercise happen more than 100 of them. Okay, we have exercise with Oman, Kuwait, Egypt, all of them. Okay, so at least these all should be very much on your tips. Okay, Going forward, now, if you understand the significance of these exercises, now, when we say that there are hundreds of these exercises are conducted, so what's the importance of these exercises? Now, for example, when exercises like these, which has a very specific orientation, okay, this help the advancement of the naval forces or the particular forces who are doing that exercises. Getting it? So it helps that kind of dealing with the upcoming challenges. Okay. So it helps increasing your security. Getting it? And it enhances the security capabilities of your armed forces. Getting it? Apart from that, these kind of drills or exercises help build that kind of cooperation. Okay. For example, let's say if there is some kind of pirate activities going on in the Atlantic Ocean. Okay. Now, or let's say in the Indian Ocean whatsoever. Now, this kind of cooperation helps to deal with this kinds of rebellious activities in a cooperated manner amongst different countries. Okay. For example, let's say if some Indian ship is going okay in the Atlantic, and somehow it meets some kind of notorious activities in its way, so India can ask for kind of cooperation, okay, from the other countries. So it built that kind of cooperation among the different countries. Apart from that, it increases the readiness, right? It makes sure that we are very much prepared for the futuristic issues which are going to be coming our way. Getting it? Okay. Now, just like that, there was another exercise which happened, which was exercise Varuna. It was conducted between India and the France. Okay. It's been a long time practice. This was the 23rd edition of this particular exercise. So, if you understand, it has been there since 1993. We are doing this kind of practice. Okay. India and France, there is lot to learn when we talk about the security or the warfare capabilities advancements. We talk about Rafale, we talk about the Scorpion submarines. There are n number of things, and when France has aided India over the past from decades, okay, to increase our security capabilities. Getting it? So if we talk about, it's one of the most important of the nation. So there are other exercise also which you should look into. For example, Fringex, Garuda. Garuda is between the air exercise between the Indian and the French air forces. Then there is exercise Shakti, conducted as a military exercise. Okay, and there's, if you will understand, Garud. Okay, it's a name of bird. So try to remember it in the terms of that particular type of what they say, tricks and nicks you can develop. Okay, try to remember because there will be plenty of exercise. You need to find some kind of way. Okay, La Perouse. Okay, so these are the 4 exercises India and French are conducting. Okay, going forward, another news from today's newspaper that India has increased its ranking amongst the 147 countries. India has been ranked as 118th on the World Happiness Index. Getting it? Last year, India scored 126th. So, we are seeing there is a kind of betterment or development in the happiness index of the country. If you will see the other trend, Afghanistan stood as the last country in the happiness index, but and as like the Nordic countries, Finland, Denmark, they are doing really good. There's a lot to learn for the other countries, but there is a very important change, if you will see, in this year's index, is that the Western nations, okay, for example, United States, it dropped to 24th. UK also saw a drop in its ranking. It fell down to 23rd. Getting it? So, if you will see that there is a declining happiness in the Western countries, right? And this is a very important issue if you will understand. Because if you will see, the n number of times we associate the kind of happy and the best kind of version of life with the Western countries, but they themselves are seeing that kind of dip. Why they are seeing that dip? Because there is an increasing isolation, social isolation amongst the people of these Western nations. There is a degrading work life balance in the Western countries. People are often not associated and living close to their kins and kids. Getting it? So if you will see, in a long term, we are trying to become better in the happiness index, while the Western countries are seeing a fall, right? So of course there is something to learn from what we are following, but of course the ranking right now says that we also have great things and more places to go. Now let's look into the deeper things, that what all encompasses the happiness index. Okay, what all are the factors which are taken into context while calculating the freedom happiness index? So GDP per capita. Getting it? GDP per capita is one of the most important things which is required. Okay, how much is your spending capacity? I hope that's clear. The more, what are the things? See, of course, आपने सुना होगा कि पैसों से खुशियां नहीं खरीदी जा सकती, right? Yes or no? But there are n number of things which you can afford, which can help you keep healthy, and healthy will lead to a happier life, right? And for that you will require that kind of money. So the you know the kind of development the country has per capita is very much vital for the calculation of happiness. Then the life expectancy. Okay, what is the life expectancy of the people in that country? Getting it? What are the social supports they are getting? How much they have the freedom? Different kind of freedoms: freedom to express, the press freedom, right? The freedom to choose. Getting it? Then the generosity and the perception of corruption amongst the people. So these are the key factors around which happiness index is calculated. Now, okay. Now, what are the ways when we speak of, when we know the fact that India needs to work hard, okay, to develop its happiness index? We have places to go, right? We have a lot of work to do. So can you please tell me what are the particular methods, what are the things which we can do to increase our happiness, to be to do better next time in the happiness index? Quickly take 30 seconds and think about it. Okay, now let me help you out. There are n number of steps, okay, which we can work on. Something which you can think from this particular thing, be it the increasing the GDP per capita, increasing the health expenses, the expenditure the government is spending, increasing the freedom, right, minimizing the corruption. Okay, apart from that, what we can do? Apart from that, we can expand our scope of social security. See, if you will see right now, there are very few of those people who have this kind of social security. They are mostly the people who are working in the formal sector or the government employees, who will be having some kind of provident fund, or some kind of state insurance and all. Not everyone is having that, right? So we need to make sure that people, the street vendors, the poor people, we are expanding the scope of the social protection, the social security around them also. And how we can do it? We can do it by the methods of universal basic income. Okay, we can do it by in terms of providing a kind of social security cover, a minimum kind of social security cover for each and everyone. Yes or no? What else we can do? We can focus on increasing the health and well-being of the country and the people. Getting it? For that, we need to make sure that the government, it has to increase its public expenditure on the health sector. Currently, we are spending somewhat 1.81% of our GDP, and it's very much less compared to the developed countries. So need to make sure that we need to take this 1.81% to somewhere 3% of the GDP as a short term goal. Okay, we need to include some kind of elderly care in it. Okay, we need to make sure that we are providing some kind of community based services to take the care of the elderly, the orphans, right? To support the marginalized group, right? What else we can do? We can improve the income security. For example, if you will see recently, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi has proposed that the number of days of Mahatma Gandhi Narega plan, in which there is a short 100 days of labor which is provided to the rural workers, should be increased to 150 days. Getting it? That a short number of days should be increased to 150 days. So that will provide income security, which in the long term will lead to better results in the happiness index, right? You can also think of promoting work-life balance. Getting it? Now, of course, in the tenure, where people are saying that there should be 70 hours of work week, which is, of course, very hard to do by. But yeah, there has to be a particular work-life balance which we can think of. Getting it? So, there are a number of ways. Try to think more about it. And I have provided you another question. Attempt it in 150 words. Okay, try to write an answer and share with me. Do let me know if there's any particular kind of challenges which you find out. Okay, so that's it for today. See you guys tomorrow. Keep studying. Please revise the different aspect. Do not limit yourself to this particular segments only. Stretch these things to where else we can use it. Okay, okay. See you guys tomorrow.